5 Dimensions of Learning Model Application. Introduction. DOL3 aims to provide an opportunity for teachers to deliver more comprehensive lessons. Applying the teaching model that corresponds to the 5 dimensions of learning or cognition is especially important if there are students with special needs in the class. At the same time, the model makes it possible to better structure the learning process and creates the prerequisites for the future assessment of students' abilities and success. This paper aims to discuss the advantages of the specific teaching approach based on the 5 dimensions of learning model. Reasoning processes. The model of 5 dimensions of learning, developed by Marzano in 1992, implies that the reasoning processes of the students engaged in learning consist of 5 basic dimensional activities. Knowing these 5 dimensions is critical in developing enriching and effective learning plans. Learning is the reasoning process, and its first dimension is attitudes and perceptions. The perceptions and attitudes may have a decisive impact on the student's ability to learn, since they would not be ready to study in, for example, a dirty or dangerous environment. At the same time, if the students have negative perceptions regarding the subject, the teacher, or the classes, they will unlikely to be successful in their learning. Therefore, the school management and teachers are responsible for creating the prerequisites for positive attitudes and perceptions in students. The second dimension of learning or reasoning is acquiring and integrating knowledge. The assimilation of new knowledge is a skill or process by which new knowledge is stored in the long-term memory of students. Learning to use this skill and make the best use of it is an important part of learning, and teachers can help students absorb knowledge. Then, the third dimension is extending and refining the knowledge to develop a deeper understanding. This dimension also involves the analysis of new information and the application of reasoning processes such as perspective analysis, error analysis, abstraction, classification, and comparison. The fourth dimension of learning is using knowledge meaningfully. The practical use of knowledge is one of the learning objectives, and it becomes possible when applying reasoning processes integral to the model. These are such reasoning processes as systems analysis, experimental inquiry, investigation, invention, problem-solving, and decision-making. Finally, the fifth dimension is the productive habits of mind, such as critical or creative thinking. For example, critical thinking allows objects to be judged by considering the premises of personal attitude and introspection. At the same time, productive habits of the mind like creative thinking can be useful for building motivation and curiosity, which contributes to the subsequent assimilation of new knowledge in the future. Teaching model. The teaching model that is conventionally applied in the framework of the 5 dimensions model utilizes specifically the 5 dimensions, but, in the form, applicable to teaching information. The teachers are obliged to supply their students with the learning process, on every step of the reasoning process reflected by the 5 dimensions model. In this case, the learning process will be the most meaningful and effective both for teachers and students. Application. The first dimension of attitudes and perceptions can be applied as follows. An example of math 3rd grade student can be a good example. Firstly, the physical space of the classroom should be organized in a way that every student feels safe and included. Preferably, the desks should be placed in a round, so that there are no desks that are too distant from the teacher. This approach will improve motivation significantly and stimulate learning. Secondly, the students can be motivated to improve their attitudes to the classes through their improved learning success. For example, the teacher can encourage the students and acknowledge their efforts. Most importantly, the students with special needs in learning should get additional classes with other students who have similar special needs. If the teachers apply the 5 dimensions model, they will eventually succeed with all students.